have you ever felt like your brain just has way too many tabs open? You know, you sit down, you're ready to get to work, but then some random thought or a tiny notification just yanks you completely off track. If you feel like you're struggling to concentrate, I promise you, you are not alone. And it's not a personal failure. So today, we're going to break down how we can start to reclaim our focus.
This is the big question, right? So many of us are asking this. And here's the truth. Our modern world is practically engineered to shatter our focus. This isn't just a feeling you have. It's a real systemic problem, and it has serious cost, both to our work and just our general well-being.
And just how high is that cost? Well, get this. Research shows that multitasking, the very thing we do to try and feel more productive, can actually slash our productivity by up to 40%. Every single time we switch from one thing to another, our brain pays a price.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to get into what is actually happening inside our brains when we get distracted. Then, we'll talk about how to build what I call an external focus fortress. After that, we'll cover how to train our internal state, and finally, we'll pull it all together so you can become the architect of your own attention.
All right, let's dive right into part 1, your brain on distraction. See, to get a handle on our focus, we first have to meet the team inside our head that's running the show. And you should think of it less like a single focus button and way more like a sensitive and sometimes pretty rowdy committee. So, meet the CEO of your brain, the prefrontal cortex. It is incredibly powerful, but you got to imagine it's working from a tiny office, maybe even a broom closet. It gets overwhelmed really easily by too many tasks or just too much information. This is exactly why, after a morning of intense focus, even trying to decide what to eat for lunch can feel impossible. But of course, the CEO doesn't work alone. It's got 3 key departments. You have the alert system, which is kind of like your brain's security guard, keeping you awake and on your toes. Then there's the orientation system, which acts like a spotlight, deciding what sensory information gets lit up. And finally, the executive system is the project manager, trying to keep you on task and hit your goals. For you to really concentrate, all 3 of them have to be working together in perfect harmony.
And underneath all of that, there's this constant chemical tug-of-war going on. On one side, you've got dopamine, the motivation molecule. It loves novelty. You know that little buzz from a new email ping? That's dopamine, and it's always trying to pull you toward distraction. But on the other side, you have acetylcholine, which acts as a neural filter. It's trying to boost the signal of what you're actually supposed to be doing and tune out all that other noise.
So, knowing what's happening inside our heads, how do we start to control the world outside? Well, that brings us to our next big step, building a focus fortress. This is all about consciously engineering your environment to support concentration, not sabotage it.
This quote from neuroscientists at Princeton is basically the foundation of our entire fortress. It tells us that every single object in your line of sight is competing for your brain's very limited mental resources. So a clean workspace isn't just about being tidy, it's a neurobiological necessity.
Okay, so here are the core tools for your kit. First, declutter your desk. Get rid of everything you're not using right now. Second, use some white noise or instrumental music to mask those sudden distracting sounds. Third, get your lighting right. You want to aim for something bright, like natural daylight. And finally, and this is a big one, get your phone completely out of sight. I mean it. Research shows that even just seeing it, even if it's turned off, drains your mental energy. And speaking of phones, let's look at a really simple but powerful digital fix. What do you think this number, 38, represents?
It's the average number of minutes of screen time people save per day just by switching their phone to grayscale. See, those colorful app icons are designed to be rewarding. They're made to give your brain that little dopamine hit. Grayscale makes your phone visually boring. It short-circuits that whole reward loop and makes it way less distracting.
Okay, so we've fortified our external world. Now it's time to turn inward. How do we directly train our brain and our body to get better at concentrating, no matter what environment we're in?
You've probably heard of this one, and it's a classic for a reason. The Pomodoro technique works with your brain's natural attention cycles, not against them. Instead of trying to force yourself into a marathon of focus, you do these short, intense sprints. And those little breaks are absolutely crucial. They let your brain reset, which, counterintuitively, helps you stay focused for much longer overall.
Now, concentration is also a physical process, and it's fueled by what you eat. So enter the MIND diet. It's a hybrid diet specifically designed for brain health. It's all about prioritizing foods like leafy greens, berries, and nuts, while suggesting you limit things like red meat and fried foods.
And the impact here is, well, it's staggering. A long-term study found that people who strictly followed the MIND diet had the cognitive function of someone 7.5 years younger. Let that sink in. What you eat directly and powerfully impacts your brain's ability to focus.
Okay, so you fueled your body, now you can train your mind with this one simple cognitive trick. Before you instinctively pick up your phone or open a new tab, just pause. Ask yourself, why am I doing this? Is it a habit? Am I bored? This tiny moment of friction creates a space for a conscious choice, and it breaks that automatic loop that so often leads to mindless distraction.
So, we've looked at the biology, we've looked at the external environment, and we've talked about our internal state. Now, let's bring it all together. It's time to stop just reacting to distractions and start designing our lives for focus. This right here, this might be the single most important takeaway of all. We're so often taught to treat focus like a muscle, something to just power through with sheer force of will. But the science shows us that's completely the wrong approach. Real, sustainable concentration isn't about willpower. It's about architecture. It's about the system you build from your environment, your biology, and your habits. By consciously designing your physical and digital spaces, fueling your brain correctly, and training your focus with intention, you move from being a victim of distraction to becoming the architect of your own attention. So the question is no longer, why can't I focus? The real question is, how will you choose to invest your most precious resource?